Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now, Dillian Whyte says he's interested in fighting Anthony Joshua instead of waiting until 2022 until he gets his opportunity with the WBC. Obviously he has stayed loyal to the WBC, but it is getting difficult for him to see when that world title opportunity might come. So he does have to take it when it might come. I mean, he's turned down an Anthony Joshua fight before because he didn't believe the terms or the money was right. So he turned that away and he continued on the path for the WBC to get himself in a better position. But while it hasn't worked out all that bad for Dillian Whyte because he is WBC interim champion and he did lose to Povetkin, but he revenged and managed to get the victory over him. So it hasn't worked out really bad for him. He's making good money and he's constantly in big fights, but still he hasn't had that world title opportunity. This time around, if that opportunity were to come, he would not turn it away, just as he did last time. So there is a position now where Anthony Joshua could fight Alexander Usyk, or he could go and fight someone else after vacating that title. Now, I'm not saying that Anthony Joshua is going to vacate because I don't believe that he will, but if terms do not come together for an Usyk fight, then of course he can look at other options, maybe a fight in the US with either Luis Ortiz or Andy Ruiz. Those are options that could be explored, but I do expect them to make a deal with Usyk. They have been given 10 days by the WBO to make sure they get a deal done, otherwise it goes to purse bids. Then obviously it will be an 80-20 split favouring Anthony Joshua, the champion. I mean, Usyk is going to get more if he does a deal before, because then there will be things such as rematch clauses put into the contract. So it would be beneficial for Usyk to do a deal before, but whether he wants to do that or not, whether he's going to bet on himself to win the fight, then the salt and pepper is on his side of the table if he wins. So I guess it's down to them to negotiate for that fight to get it done before purse bids are called. Now, if there is not a deal that Anthony Joshua is happy with, then he could vacate. And in that eventuality, Dillian Whyte is throwing his hat into the mix for a fight with AJ, that long-awaited rematch. And I guess the question is, how possible is that? Could that happen this year? Well, yes, of course. I mean, AJ would not shy away from a rematch with Dillian Whyte. In fact, often when fighters pull out of his fights or they get injured, the first thing he says to Eddie Hearn is Dillian available? I mean, he said that a couple of times in the past. So he's definitely interested in fighting Dillian Whyte again, and that is something they can explore. He would be interested in a third Ruiz fight, I would imagine. Ruiz is definitely up for that. And Luis Ortiz, who is probably a good opponent for AJ, but a bit older now, so it's going to be hard to kind of get any intrigue into that, especially when there are names such as Dillian Whyte and Ruiz out there. Luis Ortiz doesn't have the same kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't have that same kind of spin on it that Whyte would or Ruiz would, given the past with both fighters and AJ. So that would be more of a hard sell than a Dillian Whyte rematch or a trilogy with Andy Ruiz Jr. Nevertheless, Anthony Joshua is going to want to keep his options open. I do expect it will be Alexander Usyk next. Tough fight for AJ, very tough fight, but still, Anthony Joshua has continuously taken these tough challenges, and I don't expect him to stop now. Even if he were not to fight Alexander Usyk, he will fight someone like Dillian Whyte or Ruiz, that is guaranteed, maybe Luis Ortiz, but still, I don't think that there is a better fight for Anthony Joshua at the moment than Alexander Usyk, especially when you factor in that he would have to vacate a title to go and fight someone else. That's what makes it a better fight than, say, a Dillian Whyte rematch or a trilogy with Andy Ruiz, because he would have to lose one of his world titles to go in that direction. And Anthony Joshua doesn't strike me as someone who would want to do that. I mean, with Undisputed, he worked extremely hard to ensure that all of the belts were on the line for that, to make it undisputed. And that is still the dream for AJ. So he didn't want to vacate then, and he's not going to want to vacate now. And Dillian Whyte is on that road to a WBC world title shot, but I do believe he's starting to wonder if he's ever going to get that, especially with the situation between Wilder and Fury, and then possibly Undisputed after a Usyk fight, and after the trilogy with Wilder and Fury. Then when is Dillian Whyte going to get his WBC world title opportunity? That is the big question, because the interesting thing that Eddie Hearn spoke about was Dillian Whyte was going to be mandatory, but then lost to Alexander Povetkin for a brief moment, although not publicised or anything like that. Povetkin was mandatory, but it wasn't public. Then Dillian Whyte won, But Dillian Whyte is not now mandatory. He is WBC interim champion, but he's not mandatory to Tyson Fury. So I'm guessing that Dillian Whyte is struggling to see when his world title opportunity might come with the WBC. Therefore, he is looking at other options like Anthony Joshua. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Usyk, Dillian Whyte, Ruiz, Ortiz. Who do you want to see AJ fight next? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks, guys.